Black and white photography can be one of the most powerful ways to communicate the emotion happening in a photo. It makes you feel close to the moment. It makes you feel like you're standing right there watching it happen. I believe the lack of color really puts the focus on the emotions, on the subject, on the people in the frame. For most of my photography career, I didn't do any black and white. I stayed away from it completely, attributing it mostly to like boring images and a cop-out for bad lighting or settings, and even as something that just old people did, old photographers, stuffy photographers did. But as I've continued to evolve in my photography, I've realized that black and white can be an extremely powerful tool. I think the area that black and white photography excels in the most is communicating emotion to your viewers. So black and white is a very powerful tool, but I don't use it all that often. I incorporate it sparingly, and I want to talk to you for a minute about how I incorporate it and what kind of my philosophy behind my black and whites is. So first of all, I'm very picky with the images I convert to black and white. If I don't feel like there is an emotion happening in this photo, if I don't feel like two people are sharing a moment, or if there's something heavy or serious or extremely interesting happening in this photo, I won't turn it to black and white. I reserve black and white exclusively for those photos that are emotional. Some examples of those I'm flashing on screen now, and so you can kind of see what I mean. All of these photos, there's emotion going on. Two people are connecting on a certain level. There's very palpable emotion, happiness, sadness, joy, all these things. There's very palpable emotion in these photos. And I think that's exactly what black and white does really well. It hammers that home. It really emphasizes it in a way that a color photo just can't quite do. So when I'm picking my black and white photos, I'm very careful with which ones I pick. And sometimes out of a gallery of 400 or 500, there'll be 10 or 15 black and white photos, because that's really all that I see warrants it. So I want to talk a little bit about my editing strategy when it comes to black and whites. So usually I will go through and I will edit my whole shoot. I'll create the whole gallery, and then I'll go back and I'll look through the photos and determine which ones I think would work best in black and white, and I'll pull those out and convert them to black and white. I've got a preset that I use. It's a black and white preset that I really love. I think it works perfectly. It just takes a couple minor adjustments depending on the environment. Usually my strategy for editing, once I've applied that preset, is I'll do two things. The first thing that I'll do is I will crop in. I'll usually give it a little bit tighter crop than I did on the original photo, because I think that black and white benefits from being a little bit tighter, and it benefits from being closer in. I think that just adds to its ability to draw the viewer in. So if you give it a little bit tighter crop, that allows the viewer to feel like they're there, they're a part of that moment. And then the second thing I'll do is I'll usually bring down the shadows or the blacks depending on the photo. And what this does is it makes the black and white photo richer. I've seen black and whites that are very flat and faded, and people like that, and that's fine. I don't. I think that the black and white edit in itself is a very dramatic edit, and it needs to be emphasized a little bit. Bringing the shadows down, bringing the blacks down so that there's some really rich contrast in that photo only makes it more useful in conveying that emotion. It adds some drama to it, emphasizing whatever that emotion or that moment was. These are my strategies for editing black and white. I don't expect you to do it exactly like I do it, but that's what I've found works. That's what I've found looks very good, and it just really hammers home that emotion. You're gonna hear me say that a lot in this video, but I think that's the biggest benefit of black and white, is that if you got a great photo to begin with, it's only going to be made better by black and white. That emotion that you captured, that moment that you found, is only going to be made more powerful and more evocative using black and white. So here are a couple examples. I'm going to show you the before, the original photo. It'll have an edit on it, but the original photo, mostly the original crop, and then I'll show you how I cropped in for the black and white. It's entirely my opinion, but I feel like it really does convey that emotion a little bit better. It makes you feel like you're sitting right there. You're just watching it happen without them even knowing you're there. And that's, again, what I think is so great about black and white. It's a powerful tool when you use it correctly and when you use it sparingly. I think the beauty of black and white is that you don't use it all the time. I think if you're a black and white photographer, that's fine, and if that's just what you love to do, great. But for me, I'm not a black and white photographer. I use it when I see there's an opportunity to use it, and those opportunities, in my opinion, are pretty few and far between. I don't feel like they appear all that often, and so I don't want to overuse it. I think it's a great tool, but too much of a good thing is a bad thing, and so I don't want to use my black and white edits too much, because then I feel like they are less powerful, they're less potent if I use them on more photos. Black and white just does an exceptional job at adding another level of drama to the photo. It doesn't necessarily mean drama in that there's something going on in the photo, but I feel like it gives the photo a little bit more weight. I think taking out the color, taking out everything that we're looking at so that we're only focusing on the emotion, the moment that's happening. I think stripping the photo down and making it just about what is happening in the frame really does something to bring your viewer in. If they lived that moment, help them relive that moment. And if they didn't live that moment, help them feel like they did. I think that is the core of black and white. Black and white gives it some drama, it pulls your viewer in, and it allows them to feel like they were right there. And color photos can do that, but I don't find myself as drawn to color photos in that way as I do black and whites. I think black and whites do it better than anything you can do in color most of the time. I made a huge mistake in the early parts of my career not even trying black and white. I mean, I probably tried it once and I was like, I'll move on. But just writing it off as something that old photographers did, and just all these stupid things I told myself, when in reality I was just not willing to learn how to use it. I was stuck in my ways, like I knew exactly how I did things and I didn't want to change. That's a mistake. So I encourage you, if you're feeling like what I'm saying sounds like you when it comes to black and white, I'd really encourage you to give it a try. Or I hope these images I've shown you were a little bit inspiring for you to go out and edit some of your photos in black and white, because I really feel like some images in your galleries are going to be hugely benefited by being in black and white. Your audience, the people viewing your photos, are really going to be able to connect with those a little bit better when they're in black and white. I strongly believe that, and I encourage you to give it a shot. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I hope it was helpful, and I hope this has encouraged you to go out and maybe shoot some black and white of your own.